The Hungry Fox. Chapter 1. The Girl Who Solved for X. Emily Rosen sat at her desk in Millburn High School, a quiet suburban public school in Essex County, New Jersey. It was a chilly October morning, the kind that made the windows fog up just enough for her to trace invisible equations with her fingertip. While waiting for class to begin, math was her world. While other juniors at Millburn debated who would win, Homecoming Queen or which song Taylor Swift would release next, Emily immersed herself in calculus problems and proofs. She was known for always having her TI-84 calculator on hand, her notebooks filled with meticulous formulas. She didn't party, she didn't drink, and she had never once been kissed. Her friends teased her about being a future Columbia professor already. They weren't wrong, her dream was to study mathematics at Columbia University in New York City, just a short train ride away from her hometown. Her parents, both accountants, adored her discipline. "You'll thank yourself later, Emily," her mother often said. "Boys and parties won't get you into Columbia. Grades will." So, Emily studied, day after day. She didn't resent it. In fact, she found comfort in the certainty of numbers. Numbers never lied. Numbers never betrayed you. But life, as she would soon discover, didn't always solve so neatly. Chapter 2. The Poem on Stage. It was a Thursday afternoon when Emily's world tilted. The school auditorium smelled faintly of dust and coffee, a mix that always clung to the old velvet curtains. Millburn High was hosting its annual Four Arts Assembly, a showcase where students performed music, dance, and readings of original work. Emily wasn't planning to go. Assemblies meant lost time she could have spent reviewing her at Calculus homework. But her English teacher, Mr. Leonard, insisted. "Emily, literature feeds the mind too. You can't live on equations alone." So she sat in the middle row, tapping her pencil against the program. Performances blurred past a cappella group singing a Billie Eilish cover, a sophomore playing Chopin, a short play that dragged too long. She was already making mental notes for tomorrow's math test, when a voice commanded the stage. Jason Miller. He was a senior, tall with an easy stride, the kind of boy people noticed without meaning to. He wasn't just handsome though, his messy brown hair and striking blue eyes would have earned him attention anyway. He had presence. He carried himself like someone who knew words mattered. He unfolded a piece of paper, his fingers steady, and began to read. The poem wasn't like anything Emily had heard before. It wasn't Shakespeare recited in English, class, or Robert Frost's verses she secretly loved. This was raw, aching, alive. Jason spoke of love like it was a wildfire that consumed reason, of longing that felt bigger than the town of Millburn itself. His words rose and fell, pulling the audience into his storm. Emily froze. Her heartbeat quickened, her breath caught. It felt like the world had narrowed to just him and the rhythm of his voice. She didn't know why, but each line carved itself into her. "I would set fire to the silence. If only her eyes would turn my way. But she walks past me, untouched, as though my heart were just another page. She refuses to read." The auditorium erupted in applause when he finished, but Emily remained still. She wasn't clapping, she couldn't. Something had shifted in her chest. What she didn't know was that the poem wasn't about her at all. It was about Rachel Kim, a senior in Jason's class, the star of the debate team, smart and effortlessly popular. Rachel didn't notice Jason beyond the occasional polite smile. But Emily had noticed him now, and there would be no turning back. That night she sat at her desk, her calculus problems unsolved for the first time. Instead, she scribbled Jason's lines in the margins of her notebook, whispering them like secrets. She, the math girl who believed in logic, had just discovered an equation she couldn't solve. Love. Chapter 3. The Party and the Kiss. For weeks after the assembly, Emily's world tilted on a new axis. She lingered in hallways longer than usual, waiting for Jason to pass. She adjusted her route to chemistry, so she might accidentally see him leaving English. She even pretended to browse the fiction shelves in the library. When she knew he studied there after school, no one noticed except Emily. She noticed everything. Then came the invitation. "Emily, you have to come." Her classmate Jessica pleaded one Friday afternoon. "It's Ryan's birthday. Everyone will be there." Normally, Emily would have declined. Parties weren't her scene. Loud music, red solo cups, sweaty teenagers, it all sounded like chaos. But then Jessica added casually, "Jason's coming too." And suddenly, chaos sounded like destiny. The preparation. The night of the party, Emily stood in front of her mirror, nerves rattling her. She had never dressed for anyone before. Tonight, every choice felt monumental. She tried on 3 different tops, before settling on a simple navy blue dress her mom had bought for a family dinner. She curled her usually straight brown hair, though her hands trembled with the iron. She even borrowed a touch of lipstick from her older sister, something soft but noticeable. Her reflection startled her. She looked different, not just the math girl. Tonight, there was something restless in her eyes, something wild she hadn't seen before. And in that wildness, one thought blazed. I could kiss him. I could be the one. The party. Ryan's house buzzed with noise when Emily arrived. Music pounded through the walls. Kids clustered in corners, laughter spilling out like neon lights. Emily clutched her phone like a lifeline as she stepped inside. Every instinct screamed to retreat, to go back to her safe desk, her equations. But then she saw him. Jason, leaning against the kitchen counter, laughing with a group of friends. He wore a simple grey hoodie and jeans, but to Emily, he might as well have been wearing a crown. Her chest tightened. She knew she hadn't come here for the music, or for Jessica, or even for Ryan. She had come for him. The moment. It took her half an hour to gather the courage. She lingered, pretended to sip soda, watched him from across the room until the sight of him burned too bright to ignore. Then, impulsively, she walked straight toward him. "Jason," she said, her voice trembling. Can I talk to you? Just for a second." Surprised, he nodded. She led him down the hallway, away from the noise, until they reached a quiet bedroom. Her heart was pounding so hard, she was sure he could hear it. She closed the door. "I know this is crazy," Emily blurted out, her hands twisting together. "And I know you probably love another girl. But I need to tell you. I like you. And all I want is just one kiss. To understand if my feelings are real." Jason blinked, stunned. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then, without a word, he leaned in. His lips touched hers, gentle but certain. Emily's whole body lit up, electricity sparking through her veins. It wasn't fireworks, it was something deeper, like her heart had been rewritten. When they broke apart, Jason looked as if he had no idea what had just happened. Emily, on the other hand, knew exactly what had. Her life had changed. The aftermath. The next morning at school, whispers followed her like shadows. "Did you hear? Emily kissed Jason. They're calling her the hungry fox. Guess the math girl isn't so boring after all." Some teased, some admired, but all noticed. Emily Rosen, invisible until yesterday, had become infamous overnight. Boys who'd never spoken to her suddenly flirted. Girls smirked knowingly. But Jason avoided her eyes. And Emily couldn't decide if the kiss had been the beginning of something or the end. Chapter 4, Hungry Fox. By Monday, The nickname had spread across Millburn High like wildfire. The Hungry Fox. Some kids whispered it with teasing smiles, others with admiration, but everyone knew who it meant. Emily Rosen, the math girl who once blended into the background, was suddenly front and center. At lunch, a sophomore she barely knew slid into the seat beside her and grinned. "So, Emily, does the fox have another kiss to spare?" His friends laughed from across the table. Emily flushed crimson and stormed away. It wasn't all bad. A few girls whispered good for her when she walked past, impressed by her boldness. But Emily wasn't sure she liked this kind of attention. She had wanted Jason's kiss, not the school's spotlight. Jason and Rachel. Jason, meanwhile, seemed caught between two worlds. He hadn't spoken to Emily since the party. Every time she saw him in the hallway, he looked away. But she noticed something else. His attention was still fixed on Rachel Kim. Rachel was everything Emily wasn't: glamorous, confident, president of the debate team. She had the kind of effortless charm that drew people in. Emily watched Jason linger near her locker, offering to carry her books, cracking jokes to make her smile. And Rachel? She accepted his kindness politely, but her eyes slid past him to the lacrosse captain, to her circle of friends, to anything but Jason. Emily's heart twisted. She had confessed, she had kissed him, and still he was chasing someone else. The reputation. The nickname clung to Emily like a brand. Teachers overheard whispers and raised eyebrows. Even her math teacher, Mr. Coleman, paused once before calling on her, as if wondering if the rumors were true. One afternoon in the library, as Emily tried to focus on derivatives, a group of boys passed by. One of them leaned down and murmured, "Hey Fox, you want to test your theory on me next?" Her cheeks burned. She slammed her textbook shut and fled. That night, she lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if the kiss had been a mistake. But then she remembered the way Jason's lips had felt, the quiet shock in his eyes. That had been real. It had to be. Jason's frustration. For Jason, the kiss had left a different mark. At first, he brushed it off as a moment of wildness, something unexpected from a quiet junior girl. But the whispers reached him too. "Dude, the fox got you." His friends joked in the locker room. "Better watch out. She eat you alive." Jason laughed along, but inside he seethed. It wasn't Emily's fault, exactly. But somehow her impulsive kiss had branded him too. Instead of being taken seriously for his poetry, people snickered behind his back. And yet, when he thought of that night, of her trembling voice asking for a kiss, of the warmth of her lips, he couldn't quite shake it. Still, he chased Rachel. He wrote another poem, recited it in class, hoping Rachel might finally notice. She smiled faintly and said, "That's sweet, Jason," before turning back to her phone. The rejection stung, and somewhere deep down, he found himself irrationally angry at Emily. She had made him feel something he couldn't name, and that unsettled him more than Rachel's indifference ever could. By spring, the tension between Emily and Jason was impossible to ignore. They orbited each other like unsolved equations, drawn close and then repelled apart, both pretending not to care. But the school year wasn't over yet, and destiny had one more test in store. Chapter 5: Awkward Encounters. Spring arrived in Millburn, painting the town in blooming dogwoods and magnolias. For most students at Millburn High, it meant SAT prep and prom chatter. For Emily, it meant weeks of navigating a strange, invisible tether between her and Jason. They didn't speak often, but fate, or maybe the cruel humor of the universe, kept throwing them together. The library incident. One afternoon, Emily sat in the library with her math notes spread across the table. She was deep in problem sets when a voice broke her concentration. "Mind if I sit here? Everywhere else is full." Jason. Emily's heart lurched, but she nodded. He slid into the chair across from her, pulling out his notebook. For several minutes, silence stretched, broken only by the scratch of pens. Finally, Jason muttered, "You're good at math, right?" Emily blinked. Yeah. Why? He rubbed the back of his neck. "I'm bombing a P statistics. Could you maybe help me with conditional probability?" Emily's fingers trembled slightly as she took his paper. For the next half hour, she walked him through problems, her voice steady even as her pulse raced. He listened intently, eyes narrowing as he focused, occasionally glancing up at her. When the session ended, he said softly, "Thanks. You explain things better than Mr. Lawson does." Emily tried not to smile too wide. It wasn't a kiss, but it was something. Debate night. A few weeks later, Emily attended the statewide debate finals at Columbia University, where Rachel was competing. The team bus had extra seats, and Emily signed up just to be part of the trip. Jason was there too, cheering for Rachel. During intermission, Emily found herself alone with him in the grand lobby of Lowe Memorial Library, marble columns towering above them. "You're here for Rachel?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. Emily swallowed. "I came for the experience. Columbia is my dream school." Jason's expression softened. "Columbia, huh? I'm applying there too. For creative writing." Their eyes met, and for a fleeting second, they weren't math girl and poet boy. They were two dreamers staring at the same future skyline. But then Rachel returned, trophy in hand, and the moment was gone. Growing tension. Despite everything, Jason's pursuit of Rachel grew, more desperate and more painful for Emily to watch. At proposal season, he even left Rachel a bouquet of tulips in her locker with a note. Rachel thanked him kindly, then announced the next day she was going to prom with a college freshman she had met at Princeton. Jason's face darkened when Emily accidentally caught his eye in the hallway afterward, for reasons she couldn't explain. He looked at her with something close to anger, as though she had written the rejection herself. But beneath that anger was something else, something Jason himself couldn't admit yet. The near confession. On a rainy April afternoon, they found themselves waiting for the same late bus. The air smelled of wet asphalt, thunder rumbling in the distance. Jason finally broke the silence. "Do you ever regret that night?" Emily froze. "The party?" He nodded. Her throat tightened. "No," she whispered. "Do you?" Jason's jaw worked as if he wanted to say yes, but instead he muttered, "I don't know," and turned away. For Emily, the words were both a wound and a promise. As the weeks ticked toward prom, the tension coiled tighter. An equation unsolved, waiting for its answer. Chapter 6. Prom night. Prom night arrived like a storm of sequins and anticipation. For weeks, Millburn High had buzzed with talk of dresses, tux rentals, and limos. Emily hadn't expected to go at all numbers and applications. Had always been more her focus, but Jessica had begged her to join their group. So here she was, standing in her bedroom before the mirror again. Just like the night of the party. But tonight was different. Tonight, her dress shimmered soft silver under the light. Her curls framed her face more confidently. And her lipstick was no longer borrowed, it was her own. Her parents took pictures by the staircase, her father joking about curfews. Emily smiled politely, but inside her heart was restless. She told herself she was going to prom for the experience, for the memory. But deep down, she knew she was still hoping Jason would notice her. The ballroom. The prom was held at the Grove, an elegant event venue in Cedar Grove, New Jersey. Crystal chandeliers glittered overhead, and a DJ blasted the latest hits. Couples swirled on the dance floor, laughter and camera flashes filling the air. Emily clung to her group of friends at first, laughing nervously, sipping punch. But she couldn't stop scanning the room. Then she saw him. Jason, in a sharp black tux, standing with his friends near the dance floor. He looked older somehow, more certain, though his eyes betrayed a storm. Their gazes met across the crowd. For a moment, neither looked away. The dance. Hours passed, the night unfolding in waves of music. Emily danced with classmates, posed for pictures, tried to enjoy herself. But her heart wasn't fully in it. Then, during a slow song, Ed Sheeran's Perfect, because of course it was, Jason appeared at her side. "Emily," he said quietly, his voice cutting through the music. "Do you want to dance?" Her breath caught. She nodded. He led her to the center of the floor, his hand warm against hers. As they swayed, Emily felt the world fall away. It was just them, moving gently under the chandeliers, her head close to his chest. For a long time, neither spoke. Then Jason whispered, "I was so stupid. I kept chasing someone who never wanted me. And the whole time, I kept thinking about you." Emily's heart surged. "Jason, I hated that kiss at first," he admitted, his eyes searching hers. "Not because of you, because it scared me. It made me feel something real. And I didn't know what to do with that." Tears pricked her eyes. "So, what now?" He smiled, soft and certain this time. "Now I want to do it right." And he kissed her again, this time not in secret. Not in haste, but in front of everyone, with all the weight of choice behind it. Columbia. Months later, August heat clung to New York City as Emily dragged her suitcase across the campus of Columbia University. The great iron gates of College Walk rose behind her, and the city's skyline shimmered in the distance. She had made it. All those nights of equations and late studying had brought her here. And when she turned toward the steps of Butler Library, there was Jason, carrying his own boxes of books. He grinned when he saw her. "Guess we solved the equation after all." Emily laughed, relief and joy blooming in her chest. For the first time, the problem wasn't numbers, or poems, or reputations. It was simple. They belonged together. Epilogue. At Millburn High, the legend of the hungry fox faded, replaced by memories of a girl who got into Columbia, who dared to chase both knowledge and love. For Emily and Jason, it was just the beginning, a story not of formulas or verses, but of two souls who finally found the courage to meet in the middle. And sometimes, she thought as she walked hand in hand with him across the Columbia Quad, the best equations in life weren't meant to be solved. They were meant to be lived. The end.